All right, I've unplugged the battery. I've snapped the keyboard back on, but I haven't put the screws back on because when I get all finished, of course, I'm going to have to go back and plug the battery in, and there's no point in putting the screws in, just extra work. This particular Chromebook uses a USB-C charger. Now, HPs are a little kind of picky sometimes about which USB-C charger you use, if you do have one. HP, for the most part, uses 45 watts. If you use a 65 watts, you may have run into problems. So just be careful and check to make sure that your power is only 45 watts for these HPs. All right, I plugged it in. We're going to power it up. And right now it's still a normal Chromebook. It says ChromeOS and all the other good stuff. And what we're going to do is go through a set of steps. It is very similar to what we did with the older Chromebooks at this point. And that is simply to put it in developer mode first. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to hit escape and refresh and power just once. You hit all three keys at once, just hit it quick. And it's going to come back and it's going to ask us to, hopefully, should have done it. Sometimes they're particular, I'll power again, there it goes. All right, should come up and say, please insert a recovery USB stick or SD card. This is very similar to what we do on the older Chromebooks. So at this point, I'm just going to hold down Control and hit D, D as in dog, and bypass it. Now asking me to press Enter. If I want to stop the whole process, I could hit Escape, but I want to continue the whole process. Now this will also do a power wash. There's easier ways to do a power wash or reset the factory settings. But this particular one, you use the Shift Ctrl Alt R, and that will get you just to the power wash. What this is doing now is it's going to go into developer mode. And it's supposed to go into developer mode. It's not always a perfect process. Let's hold down the power key. There it goes. All right. So now we're at the point where it says space to re-enable. Again, if I hit the space bar, it's just going to do a power wash. But I'm going to take it to the next level. So I'm going to hit Ctrl-D again. And this time it's going to come up and say it is processing or developing, transitioning to developer mode. Up in the top left, it tells you when it's going to start. It says 23 seconds before it starts. It usually takes 4 to 5 minutes in order to go through the whole process to transition to developer mode. You must get it into development mode before you can go any further toward putting a new BIOS on here and also putting Linux on here. So I'm going to stop the video at this point. It's going to go ahead and go through the process of going into developer mode. And again, it takes about 5 minutes or so. So I'm just going to stop and pick up after that. All right, so the process is now completed for putting them in developer mode. You're going to get this message after it is finished. And you can either hit space to re-enable. I don't recommend that. You can hit Control-D and it'll bypass that. Or you can just sit there and watch it until it chirps at you like that, and then it goes and it restarts ChromeOS. Now ChromeOS in this case though is going to be in developer mode. And we'll be using that developer mode process to be able to put a new BIOS on it that is going to allow it to boot from a flash drive. That's our whole goal here. All right, so once it has booted back up, it's now saying that you're in developer mode because it's telling you enable debugging features. When you see that on there, that's an indication that developer mode is now turned on. Now we have to put it on Wi-Fi because we're going to be going out on the internet to be able to fetch something. So I'm going to put it on our local guest Wi-Fi. Now, it's going to come to the point where you can log in and all the other stuff, but we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is very similar to what we did on the older machines, where we basically go into the command prompt that is going to allow us to be able to do the script that we need in order to run a new BIOS, and well, let's just go through it. So I'm going to hold down Ctrl, Alt, and the right arrow on the top row. It takes us to the command prompt. At the command prompt, I'm going to log in with a name called Chronos. Has no password on it. Now, all the steps that we're going to be doing, I'll have listed in the comments below, so you're not going to need to hustle and write them down. It'll be fully documented, everything that we're doing. So at this point, I have to issue a command or a set of commands. They're a little bit obtuse if you're not familiar with Linux. So I'm going to say cd and semicolon, a space, and then I have curl-lo. Now the LO, it looks like a 0, but it is an O, capital L, capital O. So use it that very specifically. Linux is one of those things that's not very forgiving in terms of case sensitive. So now I have to tell it which file I'm going for, and I'm going to a website called mrchromebox.tech, and the file I'm going to be pulling down there is firmware-util.sh. When it's not sh, it is a script that is going to run. This is the command to go get it. Curl is just a command to say go fetch it from the command line. And we're also going to add another command to it, and that is done by hitting the 2 ampersand signs. And then I'm going to say run that firmware utility once you get it downloaded. So I'm going to say sudo bash firmware, I spell it right, -util-sh. So this is the whole command. Again, it's going to be in the comments, so you'll be able to see it. I could have done it in 2 separate commands, but I'm just lazy and want to do it all in one. So once I press enter, now it's going to go through and it's going to go fetch the firmware utility. It has already done that. And it's going to download any supporting files, because what it does, it goes out and recognizes what board that I have on this particular Chromebox. And then it will bring down the appropriate files for this particular Chromebox. Does it all in the script. Nothing you have to think about too much. All right, it says, warning, your device currently has software write protect enabled. That's not true. We unplugged it, so the Mr. Chromebox listing for this particular device says all you have to do is unplug the battery and then restart it. And you'll see that it works. It doesn't give us any messages saying the write protect is still enabled. This is just a message that pops up. And it's asking us to either press Y to disable software write protect and reboot. I didn't want it to reboot, so I'm just going to press enter. This takes us to the full menu now for the Mr. Chromebox firmware utility. If you notice at the top up here, it's recognizing that it's a Chromebook 14. It is a board named Carina. They all have weird names. It is a platform, which means it's a processor. It uses an AMD Stony Ridge. This is part of the problem with the sound. I have to have the files that I need on this computer in order for it to recognize this processor and recognize the sound. We've got all that worked out, but you'll see as it goes. Anyway, now I get down to the main menu here, and I have 5 choices. We're going to choose the number 2 choice. We're going to replace or install and update the UEFI. That's just a system that allows it to boot from a flash drive. That's all we're doing. So I'm going to choose the number 2 now and press enter. It's going to give me a series of questions. It's going to say, are you sure you want to do this? I'm going to say Y for yes. And now it's going to say, are you really, really sure you want to do this? Because then you have to type in all caps, I accept. And I'm going to press enter. Now, I've done this a lot of times. If you feel a little nervous about this, you're going to get to a stage where it's going to allow you to do a backup of your current ChromeOS, just in case you feel like, okay, if I have to back out of this or whatever, it doesn't work right, I can still utilize the machine. So I'm going to click on I accept. It's going to say one more time, are you sure you want to do this? ChromeOS will no longer be bootable. That's okay. I'm going to choose Y. Here is where it's going to ask us now, do you want to back up your copy of the stock firmware, the ChromeOS, basically that operating system. I've got 200 of these in the garage, so I'm not going to worry about backing it up. If you feel more comfortable, you put a flash drive in there. It has enough space for it, and it'll back it up. Back up your ChromeOS so that if something goes wrong, you can always reverse it. I'm going to choose no in my case. And it's going to go through, and it's going to give us a little progress bar, tell us what it's doing. It's downloading a firmware that is specific to Carina, this particular Chromebook. It's going to go through. It takes it maybe 60 to 90 seconds to do the whole process and install it. And it'll give us a message here in just a minute. Remember, our goal with this is to get to the point where we can put a flash drive in here and boot from the flash drive. If you have a ChromeOS or any other Linux installation on a flash drive, then you can go ahead and put that in there and it's going to boot from it. It's going to run that particular application that you have on the flash drive. Okay, it's got to the point to where it's finished. It's saying press enter to go back to the main menu. I do. Now I have some other choices here. I can hit the red R to reboot, the P to power off, or the Q to quit. The one I'm going to hit is the R to reboot. And what it's going to do is it's going to reboot the system, and then it's going to take maybe 30 seconds to a minute on that initial reboot. And then it's going to pop a funny little picture on the screen, and that funny little picture is going to be a bunny. So the screen's lit up again, so that means it's progressing along. We'll give it another 10, 15 seconds or so, and we should see the little bunny pop up. And when that bunny pops up, there it is. That's an indication that you have a new BIOS. So at this point, I could plug in a new flash drive and go on. We'll go on here in just a minute.